The obvious that we haven't practiced. We're not really fully ready yet. We still haven't figured anything out in the patch, and yeah, we definitely expected 0-2, especially because we played against two very strong teams. We were planning on like staying strong and not really getting too frustrated from losses and trying to become as strong as possible for playoffs.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the European LCS. Our next match is between the 0-2 Origin and the Unicorns of Love. I don't know if you guys can hear me, actually.
I can hear you.
You can hear me, just about. I guess you guys just take the wheel until...
we did technically mute you. So.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I think it's fixed now. In any case, I wanted to jump in immediately on that Mythic clip before we get in a little bit more of the talks, because Crepo touched on it already. If you go into a season, you've had a long off-season after coming off the semifinals of Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
We expected to go 0-2. We weren't ready. I don't think that's acceptable.
No, of course not. And it's not like Origin didn't have time. Again, they made one roster change coming in, so it wasn't a massive issue there, finding the right players or whatever. One change. You had loads of time, over Christmas to figure out what was going on. Obviously, again, the internet issue might not be their mistake, but at least as a team then, you could have done a lot more work outside of just scrimming. And honestly, they were just not ready.
And you have to look at this matchup, is now if they're not ready, this could be a very embarrassing loss for them. You look at the roster change, the one change they made in that lineup was bringing Power of Evil, the former mid laner for the Unicorns of Love, and now they go up against his old team, who are on a roll, and Power of Evil in last week just didn't end up stepping up. Whether it was him, whether it was the team, it's a lot of a team effort here, but you look at his laning performance, he was down at 10, down at 20, second and third lowest respectively of all the mid laners when you look at the players from week one. So if they can't put the fight up against UOL today, I would be a little bit embarrassed about that roster swap for the first few weeks. Only for the first few weeks. They have time.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to blame it on Power of Evil because multiple members were underperforming. I think Nils was the only one, or Sven he was the only guy doing well in the laning phase, at least together with Mythy, but everything else just fell apart. Amazing as well. We talked to him a little bit. He said we need to play more risky, we need more aggressiveness, and the team comps we saw from them were just too slow. Like, there's too much scaling coming in, too little wave clear if you look at the one against H2K. And the worst part, in the game against Fnatic, they honestly counterpicked themselves. Because they had Lissandro locked in already as a flex pick. They see Olaf for Gamsu. They're like, all right, let's put Lissandro top then for absolutely no reason. And then let's pick Orianna for mid lane, who then got pressured super hard by LeBlanc. And suddenly, you counterpick yourself, at least in the top lane, and you lost, honestly, that game because you fell so far behind in that top lane.
And very quickly to touch on it, it happened again in the second game. They had to pick Kassadin into the LeBlanc, so that was a rough one for themselves. But, we spoke a little bit to Amazing. He's been outspoken himself about how you play as a jungler now. He was kind of talking about how you just need to play a little bit more loose. Play almost like you don't care, and then you can carry on the jungle, which I think is part of the issue that Origin had. They were playing very reserved last week.
We just have to remember, Origin at Worlds was a fairly slow-paced team. They didn't do that well in the early game, and this meta obviously is so much about that early to mid-game now, so as a team maybe it doesn't fit them too well. But some of the things they did so well at Worlds, they don't do now. Like, suddenly they're messing up a lane swap, and you're like, what's going on? This team was super good in terms of macro strategy at Worlds. That needs to be fixed, and also the pick and ban phase needs to be more tailored towards the early to mid-game. And then I think Origin will start picking up wins.
Yeah, you mentioned it, things they did well at Worlds, like shot calling. You went here on the desk last week and said the Unicorns of Love, on the other hand, are showing the best shot calling we've ever seen from them. And I've personally looked through a lot of VODs, and I have to concede because in a lot of cases, they showed strong tactical ideas and maybe shot calling, but never for a period of even 2 games in a row, because the inconsistency was something that always came back. I do have to see if it's like 3 or 4 games in a row, though. I'm not ready to agree yet.
From the 2 games we have seen, it was honestly the same game plan, and it was the same kind of way they executed the games. And that's why I think the shot calling looks a lot better, because as you said yourself, normally it would be more like reacting to what's going on. Can like Hylissang get a flash tippers on 5 guys, and then we pull the trigger and that. Now, instead, like, we see plans of how to split push. When do we dive that lane? We see the pathing for Diamond, which I absolutely love. The way they're timing it with minion waves pushing against, his team, and then he goes and ganks them, and the early vision and so on. Like, there's a game plan. And they're executing the game plan. They need to keep doing that.
They are, just as you alluded to, Diamond's pathing in the early game did so much work for the rest of his team. And if they can continue to get Diamond on these picks that have early presence into the rest of the team doing well, I like Fox's Zed as well. It was a pick I don't think a lot of people were expecting from him, even though he played 8 games last year. I think there are a couple of other picks that we may see come back out of the Unicorns that are in their playbook and in the meta right now. Keep in mind, pre-rework, Vizichachi was the only guy playing Poppy. If he wants to take that Poppy top lane here, that is exactly what we've seen from LCK, LPL.
I want Graves top.
We could see Graves top.
It
He's
is
the kind
so
of player that'll do
overpowered.
it.
In every role.
Maybe
3.
jungle top.
3.
Terrible AD carry pick.
Okay.
Anyway, top lane Graves, I want to see it. It is so strong. We've seen it in LCK. We've seen it, in Challenger yesterday for you Stress as well. Man, that is strong.
We'll see if they bust it out. But the teams are ready, and we'll find out immediately if we see the Graves or not. So Casters, take us through those picks and bans, please.
Thanks, guys. I'm Richard Polscam, and I'll be swapping in on the caster desk with Mitch Crepo of Vospus. How are you doing today, Crepo?
I'm doing fantastic. I actually want to cast some of these games because I want to see if Origin is playing on like a week 1 style, and any of these teams have evolved to a week 2 style. Because Origin, one of the main comments they had after the game is like, we were in the dark. So they're going to use all the pick ban information from week 1, but meanwhile, maybe some of these teams that have been practicing more are already like a step ahead. That's when I want to see if that comes out.
And on the other side, the Unicorns being 2-0, can they keep up the momentum against also better teams? If Origin start performing, this would be a big test for the Unicorns of Love, and they can maintain that really good macro game that we've seen, like the analyst desk was talking about.
Yeah, but the macro game was founded on a decent lead every single time so far by Diamond Procs getting that done.
Well, as we load up, a quick roster rundown for us. So on Origin, on the blue side, let's take a look at what they're fielding. Soaz in the top lane, Amazing in the jungle, Power of Evil in the mid lane with Sven, Miffy, and Hazel in coach.
Yeah, that's Origin looking pretty strong. Still some question marks around Power of Evil. On paper, obviously, they look very strong, but the Unicorns of Love, on the other side, on the red side, they didn't look that strong on paper, but they surprised in week 1. Top lane, Vizichachi in the jungle, the man of the hour, Diamond Procs. Fox, fantastic performance on Zed. Overall, Steelback's playing better than he used to, and Hylissang, for me, is just a really core, fundamentally good support. So we need to see if that progression's there, if there's finally some growth in these Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, to me, the Unicorns of Love are almost a tempo-based team, because Diamond, in the interview, he was saying everything just kind of fell into place. We didn't need specific shot calling because we got a kill, we knew what to do, and then everything fell into place. If they start falling behind in the early game, can they carry up? Can they carry on the momentum?
Yeah, that's obviously the question. What did they do with limited momentum? What did they do if they play behind? Like, do they actually recognize their win conditions, or was this almost instinct-based, like solo queue, intuition almost that they've built up? They've had a couple of weeks right now. Even if it's not there just yet, we can wait for a little more progression from the Unicorns. Obviously, my final judgment will be in week 5 for a lot of these teams where they can maybe adapt to the meta just a little bit, but we'll see about that later. We're only in week 2 right now. We're in Champ Select, so let's get this going.
Definitely something to keep track of as the weeks progress, but getting into Champion Select here with the bans, Rise will be the first one coming out from Origin, saw that first pick in the last game, and has seen high pick and ban over the last couple of weeks in all regions.
Yeah, last week actually, Origin was prioritizing Rise, and then ended up picking Castle in mid, and they have a double scaling composition with no wave clear. This time they're saying, well, to avoid picking this Rise, putting ourselves in that position, we'll just ban it out ourselves.
Yeah, Gangplank will be the next ban coming in from Unicorns of Love. Pretty much exclusively banned or picked, and the few Gangplanks that we've seen haven't been incredibly impressive. That's not necessarily just been from Europe either. Lee's will be the next ban coming in from Origin, and is back into the Unicorns of Love court.
Yeah, so junglers that are up right now that are strong. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Grace, even though Europe hasn't really embodied it that much. If you look at different legions, especially the LPL, we've seen some fantastic Grace performances there. Kindred is pretty high up there still. Lee Sin is still a staple pick for Amazing. Might actually give Origin a little bit more of that early game they were looking for.
Yeah, as well as the Challenger series from what we've seen. Graves top as well as in the jungle. We saw that being flexed in from the Banditos, the Renegades Banditos. Kindred will be the final ban coming in from Origin, with Lissandra being the second in from UOL.
I think we may actually see the Graves jungle on Amazing here. He did mention it in casual conversation that was a pick he was looking at. Otherwise, though, he still has the Lee Sin available, so they may not prio it. Lu is still available, and that is an Origin staple champion. It actually solves a lot of their issues innately as in the pick, because it gives you wave clear mid, it gives you a little bit of tempo in the game, and more importantly, you can play around one of your best performing members, which is Ven, and that is exactly the reason the Unicorns end up banning it out.
Recognize that one in there. So the first pick will be very fast coming in. It's just going to be the Tam Kench going Could be in the top lane, could be support. Nice flex to start off the draft for Origin.
Yeah, Tamkench right now is almost exclusively a top lane pick, not picked that often in the support because there are so many other good supports. And one of the reasons he really succeeds is because he denies so many plays that you can do on the carries in the game, and more importantly, because this meta has shifted to less tanks and overall more squishy targets, Tamkench's base damages are actually enough to keep up with that. So he can run in as a super tank with the great health, still have enough base damages. We saw it, I think, earlier today in the LCK as well, where it was, I believe, CJ versus Bennu. At least it was a match with Bennu. I don't know who the blue team was, but they had a Tamkench top lane, and even though you really don't expect much damage coming out of it traditionally, he just tore apart the squishies too in the fight because the base damages are still significant.
Also the same kind of thought process as Lulu to help out the team and facilitate those big carries. So picking up the Tamkench, a lot of sense in from Origin. First two pickups from Unicorns of Love, Corki and Lee Sin will be picked up early into the draft.
Yeah, good tempo picks. So a strong early game jungler that can make picks with an 80 carry that fulfills Steelback's playstyle, which is generally cleanup, but can also group early for poke. And Corki, let's not forget, is still a flex pick on this patch, an incredibly strong mid laner right now.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of good Corkis in the mid lane. The package can be very well utilized. Sometimes it can be badly utilized, as we saw yesterday, jumping into the enemy jungle by yourself and getting killed 1v3. Not so good. But Alistair has been picked up here by Origin.
Yeah, a little tank heavy, honestly. First three picks here from Origin. One really super tank in the top lane, tanky jungler, and then Alistair. Obviously, tanky support is almost paramount, almost necessary these days, but they'll need some damage coming out of that. And usually when you fulfill these compositions with late game heavy damage mages, you actually sacrifice early pressure because you go for scaling. So Origin may fall in the same trap if Power of Evil ends up playing another Orianna or something.
Got to see what those two final picks are. Expecting some big damage dealers to come out. Azir was a pick that Power of Evil picked up towards the end of the split, so we might see that come out for him, but it's been a while since we've seen it. Steelback has picked up the Trundle, can go into the top lane, but more likely in the support role now that we've moved on to 6-1.
Yeah.
He did have some changes, which makes top Trundle not so great anymore. Shen is more likely to go in that top lane role.
Yeah, and Trundle support just generally lanes very well into Alistair. Alistair, pretty much whenever you face good Trundle support, you will yield the lane and just go for some heal sustain type of plays. You can make plays if you have a Kalista on lane, but a good Trundle support should be able to win that lane, especially with an 80 carry flex counter pick possible.
Waiting on these final two pickups from Origin. The first one has been logged in, which will be the Kalista going on Sven. And then waiting for that final one for the mid lane, looking for a high damage dealer with this massively tanky front line that they've already created with the Alistair, Rek'Sai and Tamkench. Looks like it may be the Cassiopeia, and indeed that has been logged in. Power of Evil's Cassiopeia is something to be feared.
Yeah, we could see another Z pickup here for Fox. Obviously, Hillsang is doing the signature Draven Orianna hover, because that's a message he sends to his girlfriend. Really cute. So we're never really going to consider those picks. A lot of Z last week. King V combo with the Shen, you know, to protect him as he's going in. You have some magic damage spread out over the Corki at least. May not be the best though. A lot of Z denial on the side of Origin, so I doubt that Fox is actually going for it. Maybe a LeBlanc, something that can threaten the Cassiopeia at least with outplay potential from distortion in and out. Having some pressure in the lane early and potentially roam a lot better than Cassio. That could be actually the pick that Unicorns need.
I wonder if that would influence the Summon the Spell pickup from Power of Evil as well. He used to pick up a lot of exhaust in the mid lane when up against assassins like Zed, like LeBlanc. So when they jump in, he's able to stop a lot of that damage that comes in when they try to get their potential off. But the last pickup was Ezreal coming in for Fox, so going for the long-range poke route along with the Corki.
Yeah, so a very... It's hard to tell. How do you characterize this composition? Honestly, Unicorns of Love definitely looking for a 4-1 split. Where they want to group up Ezreal and Corki in one lane to poke, and they want to place pillars to actually enable that poke or just zone people off the turret so they can start sieging. The mid game will be rough though, because Ezreal right now has a really slow scaling blue build. Corki does have a decent mid game spike, but they'll have to poke a lot on these heavy tanks before they can actually put any members of Origin in kill range except maybe Cassiopeia, so have to see how that works out. Obviously Trundle Pillar, a big nuisance against a very low mobility Cassio pick in the mid lane.
I feel like if this composition falls behind it against these big, heavy tanks, they'll just never scratch them. And then when you get into fights, it's like, well, we're just going to lose. But take a look at the coaches there. Sheepy and Hazel shaking hands before they get onto the battlefield with their teams. And once again, you can take a look at those full team compositions with the players. Make sure to use those hashtags. Hashtag OG win for Origin if you think they're going to take home the win. Or UOL win for the Unicorns of Love. Currently undefeated in the first week as we get into their third game of the split.
Ooh, woo.
Hype.
Lack of crowd makes us cheering up. Yeah, just looking at the compositions, really, wondering how this game's gonna play out. I think Tam Kench actually does fine into Shen. I don't think either, like, Shen will maybe get bullied out. I don't think Tam Kench will ever get bullied out. So in terms of engagement, we have to look at what Origin can do. They'll definitely need to find a sort of flank, because if they all come from the front, I think it'll be easy enough for Unicorns of Love to disengage when they group and actually start sieging. So the win conditions, definitely for Unicorns, is post 14-15 minutes, group up, start sieging towers. And for Origin, it's to do well in individual lanes and try and shut that down.
Yeah, let's get into this one. So Origin looking for the fan out to start off the game, likewise with the Unicorns of Love. Maybe not likely to see a lane swap up in this game, at least from what we're seeing in terms of where they're currently standing. Soaz in the top lane has picked up the Corrupting Potion in the jungle. Amazing actually opting towards the refillable potion versus Fox to start off this game.
I'm actually curious for this top lane. Shen usually wins by out-sustaining with Warped Blades a lot against melee matchups, but Tahm Kench is just Tahm Kench. So I want to see how that plays out 1v1.
Hillisang waiting out here, has seen Power of Evil, Miffy, just going to face down that wards, and actually with the Chomp is able to clear it away.
Yeah, obviously.
Faces down his own ward, so 2 wards have to be used to get that vision.
Yeah, Chomp has an auto attack reset built in just the same way Leona Q has, for example, so it's auto Q, auto, clear wards.
Minions have spawned.
Hillisang, the mental advantage going into the game.
Yeah, got that slight CS advantage. Using the game already, amazing. A little bit caught out here by Diamond Prox, an extra auto coming in after the Q. That puts him low for the initial jungle clear.
Yeah, and that's actually big, because back in the day maybe you could base, but because Cam spawned at 140 right now, he's starting his jungle on 60%, and that may actually influence his level 3 gang timing. Yeah, he has to use potion there.
Already gone through 1 stack of that one. Soaz going to be helping him out there, so won't be taking too much damage from this camp, and this clear shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, might influence things down the line. It may change what Diamond Prox chooses to do.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say Niels, but obviously it's Ven right now. Start W for the early lane. We've seen a lot of Kallistas recently go for the E to maybe easier losses, especially since you have a melee support that won't be able to provide that initial passive part to get that proc off.
So this is interesting if you take a look at the Keystone Mastery that Alistair was running. We were having some discussion in the office about it, but it's the Wind Speakers. So this is more of a team fight Keystone Mastery to pick up, because when you get later into the game, you give everyone you heal, because this heal is AoE, extra magic resistance and armor. So it's not looking for the lane, not looking for the Bond of Stone just with Sven, but more as a team fight pick, which makes sense when you take a look at this composition.
Yeah, definitely, especially against those tanks, you know, the added bonus of that, and the power of those heals. But yeah, in lane it doesn't really offer very much. Alistair Kalista should be safe though. They should never die 2v2. They can maybe get zone up CS, but Corki and Trundle's laning patterns are pretty obvious, really. So barring any ganks or really good package usage, this lane should be even on both sides. The outplay is easier to do even on the side of Kalista and Alistair.
Both of them hit level 2, and Hillisang can't really get in range of the Alistair. He just hangs back. Mid lane though, Fox up against Power of Evil. So a couple of trade things happen. Just Fox trying to get out of the way of some of the Noxious Blasts, but there's not too much happening in the early game in this lane.
Yeah, this is a matchup that is basically exemplify what you want to do in mid lane, which is punish people when they walk up to CS. So whenever Cassia goes for your CS, you want to get that Mystic shot out. Whenever Fox walks up, you want to make it drown in poison and maybe engage for the all-in. Power of Evil getting pushed though, so that puts pressure on Cassiopeia, forcing her to use much more mana on the clear. And Fox is pretty safe because he can always shift out a potential knock-up flash from Amazing. So really smart from Fox to just really power push early.
He did miss a lot of minions though while trying to power push, because he was continuously hitting the minions and missing some of those last hits. Top lane though, Soaz up against Vizcachi. Well, 2 tanks, so they're just going to be bashing away, but not really getting too much done. However, that lane was pushed in, and Soaz loses a lot of minions, almost 10 minions behind at 3 minutes in, or 4 minutes in, is quite a big disadvantage up against the Shen.
Yeah, the Tahm Kench isn't as tanky yet, hasn't picked up any resistances, so the repetitive bullying that we see here from Vizcachi, you know, auto Q, auto coming out, and the fact that he can sustain himself up while pushing, made it so that he pushed into Soaz, and Soaz did a poor job lasting under the tower. So again, good matchup read here from Vizcachi.
So it's not really in danger of dying, but missing minions more than anything.
In a way, this influences the early game, at least if this continues. Obviously, the first few levels doesn't matter, but if every lane is pushing, it makes it incredibly hard for the jungle to operate in between those lanes. So Amazing has a hard time operating going aggressive onto Diamond Prox's jungle because both laners will be able to react a lot quicker since they're pushing in their opponents in their respective lanes.
Wonder what Diamond Proc will do from here then. Currently he's just gone back to base, picked up the Tracker's Knife and a Pink Ward as well, so that may be a defensive one, or he might try and get into the jungle with Amazing. A little harder because Tremor Sense, but Soaz picking up Chachi will be jumping back through, but Amazing being there and a flash knockup under tower. This is a little bit risky with Diamond Prox with a counter guy. Will flash after the auto attack. The gold goes over to him for the first blood. Another tower shot lands onto Soaz and a follow-up for the double kill coming in for Diamond Prox.
And this is massive, and this is something we've seen before from Origin. They're just not on the same page right here. Soaz knew it was too risky, especially since Diamond Prox hadn't revealed himself on the map so far at all, and then overall they won that trade, but Amazing goes in for the greed, and you can just see how close that really was. Diamond Prox beautifully outplaying there. Really Vizichachi too, just that one Q auto. We're gonna see it again. So Soaz acts as if he's laning normal right now. You see Amazing is not committing right now because he wants it to seem as if it's a normal 1v1. Chachi flashes and he looks. Soaz turns around. This is no communication here, whatever, because they could have popped Chachi because all he needed was one extra auto after what's gonna happen next here. So imagine if there was one additional auto a little earlier. Maybe Chachi dies, maybe it's a 1-for-1, but now Diamond Prox, not only do they get the kill there, they also allow that massive wave to be soaked up perfectly. No CS denial. Imagine if they just waited out a tower, had Vizichachi on 20%. He couldn't touch any of that CS, even if Diamond Prox joined. So a big error in communication for Origin, and that spells bigger problems than any draft, really.
And what we can say for certain is Diamond Prox's performance in week 1 was not a fluke. That was just a good read from him going into the top lane.
I mean, it was still, I don't know, man. It's an instant play. It was fantastic play, really good mechanical play, but from shot calling wise or pure strategy, there's not much you can highlight because it was really,
We happened to be there, right?
It was like, these guys are diving, really? Well, I'm Lee Sin, so I'll just take these 2 kills. But yeah, 2-0, stats don't lie.
Sure, he was in the area though. And then Fox continuing to farm up. Both of those kills went to Diamond Prox though, so he's picked up the Warhammer. So actually, going to be way stronger than Amazing if he finds him in the jungle. Also hit level 6 off of that gank as well from the extra experience. So he's got that huge spike in power. So if he goes for another gank, his ability to flash kick, or if he finds Amazing, has the ability to execute in the jungle.
Kills did go to Diamond Prox, so only assist for Vizichachi, so Soaz isn't punished as hard. Can obviously start building tanky, wants to reset that wave. Need to see if Amazing can get a gank somewhere. That's the problem right now. He's obviously very far behind Diamond Prox. If it comes to any altercation in the jungles, Diamond will win that. He can also start ward jumping behind mid lane right now for a kick. That's what he's looking for. But it's hard because obviously Fox will have to change his movement. If Ezreal from Rax range suddenly starts playing closer, the gank generally is given away.
Kind of easy to read. With Power of Evil, also with Flash and his ultimate still, going anywhere near that turret if they're even going to take any damage is very, very dangerous. Diamond Prox chooses not to do that, but will pass over a ward here, which was placed down, I believe, by Amazing with the Tracker's Knife. So we're going to see him going into the top side. Tunnel goes into the bottom side, though, from Amazing. Take a look at the double pink wards being set up in River, though, by Origin. Already establishing that vision control so they can track Diamond Prox.
Yeah, that's a really good point. These pink wards in the river is definitely what you want in this patch because they're so cheap, and even if they last only like 1 or 2 minutes, the fact that you gain vision there and you have guaranteed knowledge that they don't have any vision in the area, and very often they last longer than average wards right now, which is only like 230, definitely worth doing. So teams should really invest more in pink wards.
And speaking of pink wards, it just spotted out Amazing as well, so you get so much value from those things. Only 75 gold, so the price of old green wards, so there's really no reason not to. Amazing into the jungle now of Diamond Prox, and knows he's not in that side of the jungle. Also knew that he cleared it recently, so you get a general idea of where Diamond Prox is currently. So as he's trading up against Chachi in the top lane, but it's not a whole lot of damage as he shadow dashes away. Takes a bit more damage, and those auto attacks do more.
And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, early game, the Vorpal Blades regen and the repetitive harass matters, but this is not even like mid game. This is like early game phase 2. The tankiness, the innate tankiness and just Tam Kench with the levels becomes so strong in a 1v1 scenario that nobody can out-sustain him, and he just bullies you out. Even though Vizichachi has an experience advantage, has 2 extra assists. Yes, he did opt in for CDR boots, who don't give you even that many pure combat stats, but in an extended fight, you know, CDR is still valuable. So as a straight up winning that trade, even though he's down 0-0-2.
Only got the Barmy Cinder as well, so it's not even like he's super well built in this lane. That being said, Chachi has gone for the Lucidity boots, so not a tanky option in top lane, but he's not really in danger of dying 1v1.
And one issue the Unicorns have here, composition-wise, is that they'll be waiting for action to happen from Origin, and then punish that with a Shen teleport. But there's very little proactivity on their side unless Diamondprox finds an opening behind somewhere, using the Shen ulti on himself and ward hopping, because otherwise it's so incredibly hard to force any kills. Like, Trundle Pillar is the only inkling of engage that they have other than that. So Origin being slightly behind isn't the worst, because the Unicorns can't push their advantage unless they group and siege turrets.
Well, the most proactivity we've seen from Diamondprox so far has been taking that blue buff in the jungle away from Amazing. He's now still staying around the area, having taken the crab, has the extra movement speed as well to quickly react to a potential top lane gank from Amazing. And Alistair's also heading up as well. Miffy looking for this play to be set up, but I believe Diamondprox has seen it out. However, he's just on the edge of vision from that ward that was placed down by Amazing.
And what all prompted this was Corki initially picking up the package, so a lot of teams will make map-wide plays, never return to bot lane with the package. Diamondprox about to face check.
This is not going to be good for Diamondprox. So much damage already. Headbutts it into the tower. Soaz just needs to lick him down. And then gets the shutdown onto Lee Sin. Also gobbles of Vizic Chachi. Puts him under the tower. Now Steelbacks and Hillisang has to back away. And Power of Evil there to meet Chachi. So there's no way he's going to get out of here. Fox also reacts from the middle lane. He'll have to get out of here.
Yeah, and this is an example of playing a week 1 style in week 2, where AD carries pick up the package, they think they're being smart, let's not return to bot lane, but Origin this time, instead of being behind on the plays like League 1, they're ahead of the curve. They know Corki's going to a side lane, they know it's likely not going to be mid, so they head top. Mythby beautifully reads that. Again, a little bit of miscommunication, both knockups at the same time, but Diamondprox gets obliterated, Unicorns have left panic engage with the package instead of calling up that play, and suddenly, you're looking at a big gold lead here for Origin, thwarting the growth of Unicorns, and we likely will not see them group as much anymore, because right now they're under threat of a potential R-flash engage from Power of Evil, for example.
Yeah, at the very least, it was a little unfortunate for Diamondprox as he was on the very edge of that vision range. Generally, kind of a weird vision placement or a ward placement to be placed right there at the jungle entrance, so he wasn't expecting that one. Mid lane, Power of Evil opted towards the swiftness boots. He had that as well with the alacrity, so he roamed to that gank actually very quickly before Fox as that happened. So even if they reacted at the same time, there's a lot more movement speed over to Power of Evil. He did that immediately after the tier as well, so prioritizing that mobility a lot in this game.
Yeah, and we're seeing the issues here of laning both Ezreal and Corki. I mean, it's fantastic if you get the group, but Diamondprox is asking himself, how do I gank this lane? And the only gankable lane he has, when he has CC that to enable him, was the Shen lane in top. But you can't really gank a Time Kench if he has any bit of support right now. You're going on Miffy, he should have his ultimate available, so he should be fine.
But he hasn't activated it just yet, and he's already down very low. Fate's Call will come up and maybe re-engage onto Chachi. Now he pops the ultimate and the heal as well. Chachi will still follow up, though, with the Stand United onto Miffy. Sven turns around, gets the Rends off for the kill onto Hillisang, and with Amazing Soaz closing in from the backlines, they should have enough CC maybe to get another kill, or at least burn some summoners. Chachi is not in a good situation. Has to just walk away from his allies. Steelback may also go down here to Amazing, and that will be the kill finalized. Diamondprox now being followed after, but he is too slippery to kill. Another 3 kills over to Origin.
Yeah, and just oh so tanky. They just don't care. They walk through that tower for absolute ages, and because they have double tank there, Soaz can just soak up so much. And this time, we saw what was lacking between Soaz and Amazing was exactly there between Miffy and Sven. No nerves whatsoever, super calm, no panic ulti from Miffy. Very often when Alistair's reached about 30% in solo queue environments, you'll see both Fate's Call come out and the Unbreakable. Play Ruin. Now, they know they have Fate's Call, they know they have heal available. Miffy popped his ultimate later on, and meanwhile, Niels or Sven right now is just stacking spears over and over, and then just goes like pop, reset, gets the kill, and at that point, Unicorns, yeah, they've lost the point.
It was very impressive. Even I was starting to panic as well. As it was like, you need to ult, man.
Do something.
You gotta go.
It's like when you're watching a show and you're really rooting for the characters. Do something, please.
But it was all an act from Origin, and
but we can't
got them those kills.
Because we have to be impartial, Pulse.
Oh, that's right, yes, indeed.
No bias.
Oh, Chachi in this jungle. I believe he was seen out by the tremor sensors. He just walked into that bush, and the ward goes over the wall, so now they know Chachi's here. He has the Shadow Dash and his Flash, so he should be able to get away. Power of Evil over the wall. That's a lot of damage from Twin Fangs. We'll get that blue buff. Yes, it is a blue buff, and it doesn't have that many resistances, but still. 14 minutes in, a lot of damage. Amazing heading up to the top side to defend his turret as well. From the siege coming in from Steelback and Hillisang. Decent minion wave, but now only casting minions. He really wants to get in there and get the Queen's Wrath down. And gets a knock up onto Hillisang, so it's enough to dissuade them from going any further. Diamondprox looking to react here, along with Soaz. It'll be the 3 versus 2, but with both of them being so tanky and being so amazing, not going to look for them dive just right.
Yeah, more importantly, you get punished for diving a top Gensh because it takes a while to kill him, and it takes him barely any time to get 3 stacks on you, and then he eats you, and then the play is pretty much ruined. Especially Tower Aggro can't shift and stuff like that, so it's incredibly hard, almost impossible. And OG right now, yeah, both Power Weevil and Sven have really big marks painted on their head because they're repetitive damage dealers. Like, they either stack up the Twin Fangs or the Ren stacks, and if you can get them out of the fight, really Origin will lack damage overall. But to reach them, it's very, very hard, especially since you have to take into account there's Devour, there is the best peeling support right now in this meta. This is why Alistar is very often picked first pick over in LCK LPL, especially this week, so it's gonna be a tough climb for the Unicorns.
Oh, nice shadow dash by Chachi, getting out of the headbutt there.
Yeah, that actually changed. Well, when they nerfed Alistar's headbutt to, I think, 1200 missile speed instead of 1500, a lot of these interactions where you hop over the Alistar or through the headbutt became possible. It's really annoying. The Alistars will have to take that into account and just wait for people to dash gackles on them and then queue them up, knock them back.
Certainly triggers me as I played a lot of AP Alistar and someone just flash well. That's all my combo damage gone.
Yup.
Lucky.
You're never lucky.
No. Pillar Slang though gets the pillar down, but Sven has a hop, so he's able to get over the pillar. 5-2 currently. Origin significantly ahead of Unicorns of Love, and this is something you mentioned in Champions Select. As soon as Unicorns of Love start getting behind with this poke composition with Ezreal Corki and Yukon start chunking out the front line, that's already very tanky from Origin. How do you get back into this game?
The one play they have right now, it's Taunt Flash into package or package Shen delivery. So Shen ulti into package, knock somebody out, instant taunt, and then follow up with Trundle, stealing some resistance to some guy and trying to wreck him. Because the cool thing about poke is that it's repetitive low cooldown damage that you can really disincentivize people from fighting you. But if you have to use it in a defensive manner, it's not instant wave pool. Like, none of these champions blow up a wave immediately, so Origin can actually set up for sieges or plays, and playing poke from behind is just excruciatingly hard. So Unicorns definitely need to start making a play, otherwise Origin will take complete control. You just look at the towers. 3 towers still up at 16, 17 minutes. That means Unicorns did something wrong.
Already falling behind, and the gold differential doesn't really tell the full story as well. Only 4,000 gold ahead. Origin still significant at 17 minutes into the game though. 2 dragons over to them. Unlikely we'll see a 5 dragons play, but still ahead in this one. The first dragon, definitely one of the more valuable ones because of the extra AD and AP it gives. Definitely more combat stats versus the other buffs.
Yeah, more importantly, just the openings are getting fewer and fewer and far in between. If you look at Diamond Fox, the only play he made, or whether you can argue whether it's that he could have made or that he made, really that in the middle, but it was one counter gank in the top lane. That was a reactive play. I know Unicorns have not set up any waves, any groups, any package plays, any Shen ultimates proactively, and that is seemingly coming to bite them.
Chachi takes a bit of damage from Amazing, but has that watered up already. There's a big push coming here in the top lane with the minion wave, so Origin should be able to rotate towards this, and with no one really in position from Unicorns of Love with decent wave there, it's going to be very difficult to stop them. That being said, Chachi has his taunt now. Alternatively, with the kick, might be able to get something done.
Yeah, and you can definitely see how they pivot around that really big area with Fog of War. They have complete vision control over the Rift Scuttler already, even though they don't want to. So us. They have bitten off more than he can chew. Nope, he still has his entire health bar and great health available. We can definitely see the vision control Origin have set up right now, and especially since these pink wards last forever, they can just keep doing the same thing. Pressure in on 2 lanes, remove any possibility of counterplay from Unicorns as well for the next 5 to 6 minutes, and then they have another option on the table, which will be Baron. Right now they take the Rift Scuttler, obviously won't really do that too much for them. But they just have so complete vision control right now, and Unicorns have left all their moves would be obvious. And then it's so hard to find an opening.
I really like giving the Herald over to Sven as well, not only giving him extra combat stats, the 10% extra damage to dual Chachi, but also for the additional wave pushing potential it gives. Just kind of signifies he's going to be the one doing split push in the 1-3-1 in the top lane. Oh, the E does not land from Chachi, but Steelback's there to back him up, so it's not end up going to be a big issue. Frostbomb will clear out the rest of the wave, and now Sven will back off.
Yeah, one of the biggest things on that buff actually is that it gives you 40 extra base movement speed, which actually matters a lot in this game. Just it allows you to really be a lot safer and be even harder to get caught, really. And that's what you want, you know, just avoid these risky situations. Right now, Origin grouping up with 4 people in the mid lane. Ezreal's doing blue buff right now, so that tower's gonna fall. And if this mid lane tower falls, it's going to get a lot worse, because what Origin's doing on the left side of the map in terms of vision, they can now mirror on the right side, and they have complete control of this game. They won't even have to ward their own jungle anymore. Unicorns of Love don't even remember what the Raptor camp at Origin side looked like.
No, and you can take a look at that vision line as well, progressively getting closer into the Unicorns of Love territory. They're gradually being choked out of this game. Amazing will just go right into the enemy jungle and take away this red buff as soon as it comes up. There's nothing that Unicorns of Love can really do about it because they're not setting up any of these plays.
Your buff? My buff. So he takes it. Niels can safely path through the enemy jungle to the top lane. So Origin, thanks to that vision, they get to cut corners. Whereas the Unicorns, thanks to the lack of vision, they need to circumvene the corners. They have to take the whole safe path all the way around, or they will risk getting caught right now. And that enough gives you, over time, gives you just a gold advantage because, hang on, they're finally seeing an aggressive play here. Gomer makes the movement speed, jukes the taunt.
Wow, gets out of it and just turns around as well with Amazing coming in. So as the cavalry has arrived. That's the first kill, made that the second. And Hillisang looks to be going down in this engage as well. Fox is there to assist his allies. Power of Evil with the flank though, with a big ultimate for 1-2. Kill, 2 kills, and maybe the 5th as well. Making that the clean ace. The triple kill coming in for Sven.
Ace for Origin, and all on the back of Sven doing that absolutely, and Quickshot hates this word, disgusting sidestep. That is what that's how you tilt an entire team. Everybody's looking at that play. It's like, okay, Shen's gonna land. He's gonna miss taunt. Okay, that is 5 kills into a Baron here. And that is literally game over.
So many resources pumped into that play, Grapho.
Alright, let's watch that again. So Sven, he has a little bit of the buff left. Trundle Pillar makes him path around, that's good. Prox goes in. But I think you should have War Dash if you had it potentially, or flashed preemptively, because you know Sven's gonna flash, so you don't want to trade flashes there, and that's just sick. This is why Sven is one of the best, just 80 carries, in my opinion, in the world when he plays on his A game.
That was insane, and Hillisang will also go down here. They lost everything from that.
Yeah, and then R flash for Power of Evil. Remember, it's not flash R because it's Cassiopeia. Miffy comes in, knock up, knock back. Problem knocks, that's Alistar for you. But overall, what I want to take away from this clip is what Unicorns did is the right play in the situation. You have to hard engage force. The issue I have with the play is that they did it when they were 6,000 gold down, and they didn't recognize that it would come to a situation like this. If you respect your opponent to play well, you know you will have to force something like this, and they could have done it at 2,000 gold disadvantage, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Instead, they decided to wait at 6,000. Right now, they're behind 11,000. TLDR, play to your win condition. Imagine how the game is going to play out and predict your future. And if it's not going to be grim, try and change it.
That was the one play that could have potentially brought them back into this game, but now they're dropping left, right, and center, dropping like flies. Hillisang goes down, middle turret will be falling to Origin as well. Just a matter of time before they start cracking the inner base. I believe that was just a W from Soaz, which chunked Fox out. Doesn't build any AP either. He's just so far behind in this game. The middle turret goes down, looking for the inhibitor as well. It doesn't look like Unicorns of Love have a chance in hell at winning this game.
Yeah, you said it in Champs League calls, like what if they get behind, what if these tanks actually get really tanky and the 80 carries don't do much damage? Well, then exactly this is happening. Blue build Ezreal is still scaling up. Corki has passed his major power spike, which is the boots, the Magic 10 boots with the Triforce. They did poke out Power of Evil here, so that may actually stop the push a little bit.
May or maybe not, because Miffy comes in with the engage and Steelback goes down. Fox tries to escape and Dimeprox tries to kill the back line. Does manage to get Power of Evil, but everyone else on the team of Origin is just as strong. Miffy still CCing up the 2 retreating members of Unicorns of Love. That's a 2-for-1, plus the top inhibitor, and this may be curtains for the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, good flying from Dimeprox, comes around, takes out the main damage dealer on paper, but at this point in the game, everybody is a main damage dealer, bar maybe Miffy. Origin looking to clean up Nexus towers. This is all from one push, by the way. This is a couple tier 2s, the entire base in shambles, almost a Nexus tower, so this will be an absolutely insane Baron power play.
Amazing just backing up here. Dimeprox seeing if he can get anything. Maybe one of the stragglers who's trying to retreat. Miffy, an amazing low. Miffy already used his ultimate, but with the Baron buff still alive, they have enhanced recalls. Has to be very fast on the draw if they wanted to kill, and just can't find anyone from Origin. So Unicorns slunk back to their base, have to clear out some of these minions, And sometimes in these situations, it'd be like, well, at least they're getting some gold come into them as the minions push in.
Yeah, that's what you tell your team. It's like, guys, it's okay.
We can still win, guys. I'm in my promos. Don't surrender.
We're getting free farm right now. This is all a trick to lure the enemy into a false sense of security. They give us 2 lanes of free push. Yeah, I think it'll be 3 lanes of free push, and then Origin will get plus 50 gold from the Nexus really soon. Complete control. I mean, if they manage to somehow throw this, they're actually at 3 dragons already, which is super early for this meta, so... Yeah. The Unicorns... It is obvious, though. Their plays. Let's watch this again. Good move by Diamondbox, by the way. Really good flank here, and on Power of Evil, and Origin being actually a little overconfident. Sven is untouched. Mithy double knock-up here. Fox just can't get it. You know, he's a poke champion. He's not made for these close-range duels, especially not when 12k behind. Not at this point in the game. Late game, Ezreal does more damage than Kalista in most settings, but she's not there yet.
Origin going to make sure they can kill every single tower in this game to maximize their fantasy points. The bottom tower will be falling as well. Diamond Proc going to try and make a play perhaps with Chachi on top of him. Also, as this is going to eat him and stop that from happening. Jumping onto Sven here, see if they can pick up that 1 kill, maybe start the ball rolling. But Chachi already chunked down. He has to get out of this fight. Diamond Proc jumps in, immediately CC'd up and taken down. Here's Sang, gets on top of Power of Evil, but even out of mana, he's going to go out as well. Double kill over to Power of Evil. 4 kills for 0. Not a single tower has gone down for Origin in this game, and Chachi is just left alive to try and stop this from happening. But the Nexus will be falling, and Origin take the win over Unicorns of Love.
But yeah, for the Unicorns going home, it'll be a very easily adjustable defeat. It's not like they lost in many key moments. It is, yes, the draft, and more just playing to your win conditions and trying to break out of a losing situation quicker. It took them way too long to realize that that was the play they had to force, and honestly it was a nice try. It just happens to be that Sven's the god and he sidesteps the Shenton point blank, which is really, really impressive, honestly. But yeah, Diamond Fox gets 2 kills there on a counter gank, then gets 1 more to the later stages of the game, and otherwise the Unicorns did nothing.
That basically summarized the game there, Crepo. Maybe next time try a play onto Power of Evil instead. Maybe it will work out a little better. But yeah, that dodge from Sven was sick. And everything revolved around that to finish out the game coming in from Origin.
Yeah, and even more impressive was just the setup for that. Just perfect vision control. Origin played it out slowly. They reacted to the roam on top. They predicted the one move that the Unicorns were making with the package. And at that point, once you're in your opponent's head and you're predicting their moves, yes, Diamond Fox was on the edge of that ward. That was very unfortunate, but you need to have the flexibility in your play to account for at least a 1 counterplay, right? You need to have flexibility in your playstyle. If your opponent knows what you're doing on step 1, then you need to go to step 2 at least. If you don't have that, then it becomes too predictable, too easily to read. Origin obviously were a world-class team, so they're slowly getting back into form.
This answers a couple questions for me, though, because Unicorns of Love, I was saying maybe a tempo-based team. What do they do if they fall behind? Took them a long time to even go for that proactive play, then didn't work out. Additionally, for Origin, they didn't look good in week 1, but have improved massively coming into week 2. So we've learned a lot of things about both teams as we head into
Still, though,
week 2.
we have to remember how they got 0-2 behind. That was a massive error in communication. And it's not hard to say, okay, I'm going to flash, or so as follow-up, go.
Yep.
And they just assumed that they were on the same page, likely because during Worlds, I imagine they were. They must have had just so many like non-written, non-verbal communication that they basically were in the same page. You know, this happens, we both know that this is the answer. And right now, something happened, and both SOAS and Amazing had a different answer. And that might be still be troublesome for Origin.
Yeah, right. They took a long break coming into this one, so maybe they just need more time to play with each other, continue to get that communication up, maybe play some dynamic queue as well and get that synergy going. But
if it gets enabled.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's what's holding them back, man. It's still not enabled in the US. Maybe today it was. Yesterday I was trying to grind my promos, but sadly, well, actually I like the old solo queue system, so I still enjoyed it. Didn't really work out that well for me, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So no more LCS. I'm staying here, Pulse.
Are you going to come to the D5 retirement home with me and Crapper, with me and Deficio?
Yeah, not
it's
yet.
Nice down here.
It's nice down there. No pressure, no games. not yet. Soon.
Not yet. I mean, you got compliments by Emperor, right? So you still got the skills.
Emperor told me in season 2 that I was for him the best support in the world.
Oh.
I told him 1, you shouldn't lie, and 2, your English is getting really fantastically great. But it's a long time ago. But yeah, Emperor's super cool guy actually. I love him. I want to see more of him.
Yeah, me too. Well, we are going to take a look at one of the interviews with Quickshot, who's standing on stage, standing with one of Origin's players.
players.
That's right. I am with one of the players. Maurice Amazing Stuckenschneider. Congratulations on the victory. Let's talk about the game. It seemed very, very one-sided. Why was that so?
We definitely had a bit more preparation this week. We're able to have internet in our gaming house, so therefore everything went well. Quite happy about that. And we knew from Champ Select on that we had the upper hand, so it kind of brought a bit more confidence, and we're really happy over that.
Yeah, definitely panned out. Let's talk about that preparation a little bit, because you were quite outspoken on social media going into week 1. How much better has it gotten from week 1 to week 2, and how are you adapting to this new patch?
We've been practicing, so that's a plus already. But in general, the patch itself was just something that you had to get used to, in the sense that the early game pacing is definitely different. So our kind of late game oriented style that we used to run at Worlds, we just run maybe in some of the playoff games last year, wasn't working that well. So we kind of had to up the aggression in the early game a bit. So we managed to do that and managed to kind of get more synergy between the laners, especially between me and Source and me and Power of Evil, who's coming new.
I want to ask about Power of Evil, actually, just as a final question. How different is it playing with PoE in the mid lane versus Xpeke, especially when you consider their experience differences?
It's quite the difference, in the sense that Power of Evil comes from a team that is really really relied on him heavily to carry the game. So his way of communicating is obviously going to be more selfish, like more lane oriented than Peke's. So I had to get used to that, but it's nothing strange to me, because I've already played with Bjergsen at some point. So I know what demanding mid-laners need, and it's just going to take a couple of more weeks for us to gel 100%. But we've been on a good path, and I think come the end of the split, like, we'll have a good synergy coming in.
Well, I like that. Hyperbolic time jump training with Bjergsen. Anyways, thank you very much. Amazing. Congratulations on the win. With that, we're going to head back up to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to listen to. Amazing, actually. Also mentioning the transition with Power of Evil. Very honest, talking about maybe a little bit of selfishness, which is normal coming into that mid lane. Let's see how that translates into the picks and bans. It's something that we talked a lot about in the intro about OG's pick and ban last week. How many improvements are we seeing here?
I like Tom Kench, for sure.
Yeah.
He didn't have a great week last week, playing some of the carries like Ryze and Lissandra. I think Tom Kench is a good pick for him. I think Tom Kench is just insanely strong and should be banned in almost any game. Kalista as well, together with the Alistar. We get to see the synergy between Mithy and Nils. Sven, I always keep calling him Nils. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Cassiopeia pick. Also blind. I felt like, so what Unicorns were trying to do in this pick and ban phase was build a siege poke comp that spikes really, really hard in the mid game, and you then have to create a lead by getting that to tier 1 towers. And Cassiopeia is not the answer against that. Like, she can't wave clear properly against it. Luckily, that never really became a problem, because Unicorns literally just died everywhere.
There were also other problems before that as well. I don't mind what the Unicorns comp was trying to do here with the double 80 carry. It's one we've seen many, many times. But we were discussing with that a lot here on the analyst
Why
desk.
is Corki not mid?
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I was going to lead you to here, so that you can drink from the water of ranting about mid lane here, Vizio.
So my problem with what Unicorns did with the lane assignment was, I felt like they decided to say we could have had a winning mid lane, and then even 2v2 lane, and then we can use the Shen TP double global to force plays on the bottom side of the map, and we can obviously do it twice, because Source can only follow once, and that should create a play that gives you a tower. He even went distortion boots and like cooldown reduction to boots and distortion as the first item on Shen, so like that was the setup. But by putting Ezreal mid, you get a losing matchup in the mid lane. And also he went Iceborne Gauntlet first with Tyr, so he wasn't even that strong. He was like kind of delaying the rest of it. And Corki just goes even in bot lane anyway. So like you ended up having no winning lanes because you didn't put Corki mid who could pressure.
You started doing really well in the top lane, though, as Unicorns of Love, because carbon copy of the previous games, Diamond has good ideas. Let's take a look at the replay. And this is when everything was still going really good for the Unicorns.
Yeah, this was going pretty well, and the discussion here is, was Diamond Prox in the right place at the right time? The answer kind of is the rest of his jungle's fairly empty, and that's miscommunication there, so there are very few places Diamond Prox can be.
And here, rest in pieces, the immaculate shot calling of the Unicorns of Love, 2 games and 11 minutes.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the call itself is not wrong in sending 4-man top because Kalista is pushing bot lane. It's a very risky play to make.
Yep.
Super, super risky. And then the execution just can't fail. And I want to see Shen sit in the opposite lane here and come in with ulti, otherwise you can just disengage. And this, I mean, this is the way it goes all wrong.
It's basically the same thing again, though, is Unicorns picking a fight before their comp is even at the point where they want to group. This is them sieging very early into an Origin that are prepared for this. I mean, Amazing was already in this kind of area, didn't have to even ult up here, and the numbers are here for Origin.
And again, this Unicorns of Love lineup had a very specific window where it could win the game, and like it's super far ahead. That is when you hit Trinity Force on Corki, when you get his magic penetration boots, and preferably around level 11, so you get ranked to ulti. That is way stronger for Corki than an Israel, because he's still stacking tier. By putting Israel mid, he's the guy getting that experience. He's the guy getting the early level 11, but he doesn't spike as hard. So you never had that opening, and that made Origin honestly just win every single lane. Then on top of that, we had some of these plays here that backfired for the Unicorns, and then your comp literally just looks awful if you don't do anything.
And Origin knows what to do with the lead, obviously, and I think you and I can meet in the middle when it comes to the Unicorns of Love. It wasn't a blip on the radar in week 1, and this was a hard comp to execute, and as Krepo mentioned as well, if they look back, they will easily see what went wrong in that game for the Unicorns.
Well, being the one in the middle right now of the two of
what do you say?
You know, from both of your consciences, I actually feel like it's something, again, that we discussed was, I just don't think Unicorns, when they picked this comp, really knew when they had to fight or not. And that's the problem, is like if you know, you can have great early game shot calling, but if your whole game picture isn't somewhat laid out coming out of picks and bans, when can we fight? When shouldn't we fight? When do we just need to power up? Then that's a big problem for the team. If that isn't established coming out of the draft, that's going to be the Unicorns perhaps making this mistake a couple of times.
Week 1 conclusions, as always.
Week 1.5 conclusion.
Now we get a few more games. We need to see more before we can really look at Unicorns and say, is it the best shot calling? I was maybe a little bit too early calling that. But I'm not going to say it's bad just because of this one game. I think the comp was too hard to execute. I think they put the wrong lane assignments, and that's it.
Yeah, we need to give those early conclusions, and then we can debate, and
Always.
it's always interesting. Anyways, in just a few minutes, 2 of the newest additions to the European LCS will go head-to-head. Before we go, though, we asked Shook what he thought of Spliced after their LCS debut.
I think Splice, they can be good. Right now, I don't think they're good. Like, they still have a lot to improve on. Like, maybe they have jitters on stage as well, so they'll just get better with time, I think. But I think they'll end up being like a middle-tier team. Like, not a lower-tier team. I think they're gonna be middle of the pack. But Vitality is, of course, gonna be a top team.